Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. How was your week? Good? Any big doings? Plans for the weekend? I hope you're going to get some R&R. Because tomorrow starts April, May, June. Yeah, tomorrow is, well, in higher ed, that's quarter four of the fiscal year. We're in countdown mode. And then it's, July 1st. And what have you done for me lately, right? Okay, I am just making sure that we are indeed live. It seems like we are, but sometimes, you just never exactly know for sure until I see myself here. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm live. Tap to join. Yes, I'm here. Oh, and there are 6 of you here. Hello. Okay. As we get started, let's take our hands. But sometimes, put them in the air. So hands in the air. Ready? Okay. So they work. The fingers are working. And then we take our hands and we put them either onto our keyboard, or we use our thumbs and go like this on our phones. And we put into the comments, what's your name, your title, where are you tuning in from? Do you work for a university? Do you work for a nonprofit? Other? Please let us know. I love to know who is here so that I can kind of tailor the conversation around you, because that, oh, hey, Lisa. Hi. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Okay, good. I love to know, if people are using ChatGPT a lot, if they're sorry, I'm just getting my presentation going. We're authentic humans here who, sometimes have a hard time doing things like clicking buttons and not having things go haywire. But if you know me, you know that's true. But you know that I make up for it in enthusiasm, charm, warmth. Not good at clicking around. That's definitely not my strong suit. Okay, so today is an exciting day because we are going to talk about how to make your prompts even better. POD now for Zazzle. Oh, what is POD? Oh, you're doing a podcast now? Is that what you're saying, Lisa? Other folks, let me know how you're doing. Let me know, are you a person who has used ChatGPT less than 10 hours, so you're still really getting used to it, or somebody who is using it every single day, or somewhere in between? Let me know, and that will help me. Oh, print on demand, of course. Print on demand. And what's Zazzle, Lisa? So what I'm going to share today really applies to any industry, but since my subject matter expertise is in fundraising and I spend so much time with fundraisers, I have this little extra, context that I can share for doing our prompting. And as a reminder, a couple of things. One is that you can get all of the recordings from these Friday sessions over on my Linktree, and my business partner will drop those in the chat, I think. Good, you use it every day. Good. So Donnie, if you can drop the Linktree in there, that would be awesome. So you can get all the recordings over there on the Linktree. I include the decks and other resources that might pertain to whatever the day's topic was. A couple of other reminders. We have something called Weekend GPT Jams every Saturday at noon Pacific time. And it's a group of people who just love AI stuff and are interested in meeting other people, potentially finding collaborators, learning from one another. And this Saturday, we have a tech showcase. We have 5 different platforms that will be demoed. One, and the highlight for me, is Cassidy.ai. Justin Feinberg, the founder, will be here to demo that. And this is the one that like changed my life forever. So I'm eternally grateful to Justin and his team. So the weekend GPT jams, you can register for those also at the same link that Donnie's going to drop here in a minute or two. I could go on and on with announcements, but let's dive in. So one of the questions I get right off the top is, do I need ChatGPT Plus? And you know what's interesting? I will give a whole, Zazzle sounds fun, Lisa. So I'll like give a whole presentation, and I always start out with talking about you do need ChatGPT Plus. And then like during the course of the presentation, people will raise their hands and say like, oh, do I need ChatGPT Plus? Do I need the paid version? And so, and I always say, I'm like, you're always going to get the same answer from me. I'm always going to say you need it. And then what happens is people during the presentation start signing up for it. And it's just night and day. And like one of the reasons why I push this so hard is because my biggest worry for newbies in particular is that they will use ChatGPT 3.5 and they'll even use some of the methodology that I'm going to teach today, but they're still going to get like super disappointing results because 3.5 is like apples and oranges to ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT Plus. And you will make your $20 back. I've got two, different use cases. If you haven't been around, one of them is take pictures of your closet, ask ChatGPT what you should wear. So if you go and like all these events are coming up this season, right? We've got weddings, we've got graduations, baby showers, vacations, etc. Take pictures of your closet, ask ChatGPT what to wear. It will put together new outfits for you so you don't need to go and buy new stuff. No fast fashion necessary. No additional clothes in the landfill. You just, have ChatGPT tell you what to wear. And then the other one is take pictures of your refrigerator and your pantry and ask ChatGPT what you can eat for dinner that, because you don't want to go to the store. And that will give you access to DALL-E to make images, custom GPTs, which are your own little private apps, code interpreter for data, vision, where you can take the pictures, and you're just going to get like way, way, way better outcomes. So yes, ChatGPT Plus. So if you haven't already heard this spiel, I'm going to just quickly touch on this. If you have, apologies. So here's my street cred. So now we've actually trained 2,100 fundraisers in generative AI and counting. We focus on responsible AI, and I'm going to say something about that in a second. I have credentials. You can get credentials here, there, everywhere. There are no experts. There are no degrees. There are no end all be all. Now you are an expert and you know all the things. There's nothing like that. So if you encounter anyone who's like, I'm an expert, la, 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 probably run the other direction because there is no such thing because everything is changing, by the minute. I am part of a community of fundraising leaders from like corporate all the way down to small firms like me, frontline fundraisers, leaders in academic fundraising, et cetera, who have created and continue to refine a framework for responsible AI in fundraising. And I'm going to say something about that in a second. I hang around with, AI nerds all day, every day. And that's probably my biggest asset, to be honest, is just my network of incredible humans who are also totally devoted to responsible AI. I've done tech rollouts and change stewardship. We have an AI first company, which is a big deal because I know your pain. I know what goes into adopting new workflows and new technology. And it's not always easy, that's for sure. And then I recently launched this little thing called She Leads AI, which is an initiative to elevate and amplify women's leadership in AI, and generative AI is a women's game. So I'm going to just touch on responsible AI because the thing is that as we all learn how to use these tools, more and more, like we've got all these people out, in the real world every day using these tools at work and play and personal and, self efficacy. But the thing is that what's lacking is an understanding of like, what are the guardrails? What are the do's and don'ts, right? So every time I just started this, by the way, the last month, every time I teach how to use the tools, I'm also going to talk about governance. It is so important that we all know how we can use these tools to protect stakeholder trust, because where we are right now, particularly in fundraising, is what we broker in. The thing that we have, our currency in fundraising, is donor trust. Right? So we're at this crossroads where we're going to be enhancing the donor experience to a whole other level. Like, I'll give you an example if you want, but a whole other level. Meanwhile, we are also going to be using their data in new ways, communicating with them in new ways, right? We're going to be, interacting with different, levels of compliance and legality. We're going to need to be able to demonstrate like transparency. We're going to need to explain how we're using their data. We have to be able to do both things. We have to be both things right now. One is totally protective of stakeholder trust, and the other is enhancing the donor giving experience. So we talk about fundraising and responsible AI a lot. I'm going to teach you my prompting method that will help you organize your prompts so that when you're creating prompts that you're going to use again and again, they're going to be nice and organized. You're always going to be able to access them. You're going to be able to improve them over time, and you're going to get the kind of dreamy results that you hear people talking about all the time. And then I'm going to share 3 use cases with you. Okay, yeah. Again, do you need ChatGPT Plus? Yes, you do. The reason why we're talking about prompting today is because because it's so important, but also because I know that there's a narrative out there about when it comes to like generating content with ChatGPT that people think it's not good enough, right? And so I always want to be like really encouraging everybody to take their prompting to the next level so that, yes, they're going to start where you're just having a conversation. And that's what I taught. Like I was at a conference this week earlier in Virginia. I just taught the natural language processing, right? Like you can just talk like a colleague, talk like a friend, talk like a stranger on the street, right? You don't have to spell correctly. You don't have to even make sense. It can be stream of consciousness. ChatGPT knows what you're talking about. And you can just have a convo back and forth, right? Weekend language, right? You don't even have to make sense, like I said. So, but when you want to get those results that are like production quality, right? They're ready for prime time with just a little bit of tweaking. Let's say you want to get to like 90% of perfect. You need to have more structured prompts. And so it's not that ChatGPT isn't like a good writer or whatever. It's that we're not yet prompting the tools properly. And that's why we're getting results that we are not as excited about all the time. And it kind of like makes people go like, it's not worth it. Promise you it is. So if any of you have been to my things, you know that I ask for a pledge. So if your fingers are working or your thumbs are working and you're near your laptop or you're not listening to this just like remotely and you're not multitasking, come back and I will not put confidential information into ChatGPT. Okay, I will not put confidential information in ChatGPT. And one of the life hacks, especially as fundraisers, like you're probably thinking, well, how could this be useful if I can't put, a donor's profile into ChatGPT? Here's one of my techniques. I never use a proper noun when I'm talking about like a donor or a fundraising project. It is always Mickey, Minnie, and Disneyland. I won't even say the name of the organization. I don't say the name of the donor, none of that. Mickey, Minnie, Disneyland. Mickey, Minnie, Disneyland. Okay. So we won't put confidential information to ChatGPT. Okay. Oh, wait, I think I had something else that I wanted to show you real quick. Where is it? Okay. Yes. Before we go into the prompt, I want to remind people how ChatGPT and these other large language models actually work, which will explain why prompting is important. So if you think about this like, you know, well, like it looks, right? Like a box on top of a box on top of a box. So you've got all the publicly available internet for the past 40 years. That's like all inside these large language models, right? It's not taking, most of the time it's not taking data that's like behind paywalls. But your large language model is trained on just about all of the internet from the past 40 years. ChatGPT pulls information like, it's a large language model. It pulls information from that. And then your prompt is what narrows down that whole universe of information. Like, think about all the information that it can pull from. And no wonder why sometimes our outputs aren't perfect, right? Thank you. Jennifer Brown is in the house. Hi. LinkedIn user, thank you. Kate, thank you. Donnie, thank you. Jennifer, this stuff, oh my God, is going to like take Jennifer Brown and just amplify the Jennifer Brown that we have in the world. And this is good news for all of us. So your prompting is what narrows the totality of all of that information into what you want for your project. Just what you want for your project. So a prompt is the thing where you're giving it instructions, and that can look like a dialogue or a request or a question. And then the output you're going to get in the form of text, image, data, video, voice, all of that is becoming more and more sophisticated. Sometimes your output is going to be a happy face, and sometimes it's going to be a frowny face. You're not always going to be happy with the output, but there are lots of ways that we can make our output better. And that is where prompting comes in. Okay. So here we saw the prompt goes to instructions, gets our output, and then reprompting, right? So let's say you put in a prompt, and we're gonna, of course, do all this together. You put in a prompt, which is the instructions, blah, 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 right? You get your output and you're like, yay, this is perfect. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to cut and paste it, I'm going to do a little bit of editing, and it's good to go, right? We talk about human in the loop and expert in the loop. You are always going to be, when you're working with information that's within your subject matter expertise, you are the judge of, what's good enough. You are the judge of, is there bias here? Is there hallucination here? Is there something that is just like totally wrong-headed in here? When you're working outside of your zone of genius, you're going to want to do some extra checking. I like to use an example of, like, let's say I was talking about, black holes, and I was like quoting, physicists and stuff. I would have to double check so many things because I'm not a physicist. So I would have to make sure that the quotes are right. I would have to check sources. Like, I'm just a human in the loop at that point. But an expert in the loop, you're going to know, like, is this accurate? And that's where it's important for all of us to manage our expectations about how these large language models work. It's not magic, right? It seems like it sometimes, but it's not, because you're in charge and you have to give it instructions to get what you want. And you always have to be checking and double checking. So let's just say you're like, okay, frowny face, I did not like my output. Then we're going to reprompt, or we're going to fix our initial prompt. And I'm going to show you this. So if you put the prompt in, you get, it looks like you're going to put information in there. It looks like this. You're going to get these outputs, and then you're either going to reprompt, or you're going to be like, cool, this is dope, I'm moving on. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, it could be that this is like so stuff you already know, but I like to kind of just back it up a little bit. Okay. So prompting can look like what I was sharing earlier. It can look like just using weekend language, chitty chat with ChatGPT. Like, no big deal, blah, blah, blah. Ask it for something. And you're going to get good results, right? And sometimes it's just such a simple question or assignment that you don't have to worry about it, right? But there are other times, and then on the other end of the spectrum is like a really, really, really specific type of prompting that requires lots and lots of formatting and like kind of specialized instruction. And for me, it's I find it overwhelming. It doesn't mean that I can't use it when I need to, but it's not like something I would use on the daily. I would use it if I needed to. So my method is like in the middle, a little bit more toward the sophisticated side. It's the core method. So here is what we do. The C is we're always thinking of this as a collaboration tool, right? We're just like if we were interacting with a super smart colleague. Think about even an intern. Say, like I like to use the example of my first fundraising gig was as an intern, and my boss said, of course, I found this out after I signed up for the internship, that one of my jobs was going to be to plan a homecoming event for the alumni of one of the departments. Now, mind you, I had never been to a homecoming event. I didn't know what the role of alumni were. I didn't know anything about fundraising or philanthropy, and I knew zero about event planning. So if somebody said to me, go plan a homecoming event, it was like, okay, and back then we didn't have ChatGPT for me to ask. But my boss knew that, of course. That wasn't the end of the request. She walked me through the different parts of the process, the audiences, the tone, the desired outcome, who would be there, what the program would be like, and like what my next steps are, and then what success looks like. Right. So she didn't say, go plan a homecoming event. She said, the desired outcome here is that we will host a homecoming event for our alumni, and our alumni will feel closer to the mission of the department and may be more likely to make gifts or join the board or nominate someone for an award, blah, blah, blah. Hire our students, etc. So you're interacting with ChatGPT like you would with a super smart intern. You have to embrace the iterative process of any good collaboration. Sometimes it's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, just like when you're dealing with human beings, right? And you're always going to ask the model to help you be a better collaborator. When I say model, in this case, I'm just referring to ChatGPT. Because, by the way, side note, you all hear tons of stuff about lots and lots of other tools, right? I mean, there are a bajillion out there and more proliferating by the day. If you, one strategy for managing all of the information is to say, I am going to optimize my work within the OpenAI ecosystem, meaning ChatGPT, Dolly, custom GPTs, code interpreter, eventually Sora, the video thing, Vision, whatever. So OpenAI has all of these tools. One recommendation I could make is to just focus on what OpenAI is offering and master those tools. And if as you're going, you're like, gosh, I would love it if ChatGPT was just like, 10% faster. Well, there's a model out there that will give you things in like the blink of an eye. Or if you were like, I wish it was more conversational, like I wish I was kind of like chatting up a friend. Well, there's a model out there that does that. But one way to navigate all of the information is to just focus on what OpenAI offers. So you can always ask ChatGPT how to help you be a better collaborator, and it will give you tips. And what I do occasionally, like every once in a while, I'll ask GPT, like, how am I doing as a collaborator? Do you have any suggestions for how I might be a better partner in this project? and it'll give you feedback. Okay, so that was C, collaborate. O, organize your prompts. So this is twofold. One is you want your prompts themselves to be nice, neat, clean, and organized, right? So I'm going to show you a framework. We're going to kind of use, it's like a little outline or a template. You're going to do pretty much the same thing each time, like give or take, but you're going to get into a rhythm. It's going to be nice, neat, clean, and organized so that when you know, are like, gosh, what about my prompt seems to be causing problems? You can clearly see each of the instructions that you've given and start tweaking those versus like some of you have seen me do my prompting where I'm just like, writing a whole bunch of stuff and we see what the output is. That's the alternative, right? There's the gibberish that works out great, but then there's like the nice, neat, clean, and organized prompts. So this is what we're talking about today, the nice, neat, clean, and organized prompts. And then the other part about organizing is, by the way, my earrings are probably making noise they're making noise in my ear. Hold on a second. I wonder if they're making noise in the app. Oh dear. Hey everybody. Okay, just a little moment here. Just a little wardrobe malfunction. Okay. Oops. The saga continues. All right. Cool. Okay. So the other piece about organizing our prompts is I'm encouraging you to create, and by the way, I decided last night that I am changing the library and calling it a gallery. Create a gallery of your best ones. And I say gallery because libraries have lots of la in them, right? They've got lots of stuff you don't need. A gallery is curated. When you go into a gallery, like let's say it's an art gallery, you know exactly, well, not exactly, but you know pretty much what you're going to get. And it has been honed, right? Somebody with an eye for that has narrowed down the whole entire universe of art that could go into an art gallery. And that's what your prompt gallery is. These are the prompts that you cherish. These are the ones that are working just super great for you. And what's going to happen is when you finish a project with ChatGPT, you're going to grab the prompt that did the dope, outcome, and you're going to put that somewhere. And for your gallery, I suggest you could start with Google Sheets or Excel. That's a good tool because you could create additional columns and like tag things like, this is a prompt for correspondence. This is a prompt for data, analysis. This is a prompt for research. So that might be kind of cool. So you could do that in Sheets or Excel, or you could put it into an Excel, a Word document or Google Docs and just do a table of contents. That's what I do. I leave mine in Google Docs until I'm like completely in love with them. And then they go into Notion, but ignore that unless you're already a Notion user or you love, let's say like if you're using Trello would be good. Airtable would be fine. Any project management or information management system would be absolutely fine. But if you don't want to even like work with some other platform, use the platform that you know really well. Use Google Docs, Word, Google Sheets, and Excel. And you're just going to build a little gallery of your very, very favorite prompts. I promise this will all start to make sense if it doesn't. And what you're achieving by being organized about it is you're going to have the ability to make incremental improvements, which is very, very satisfying. So R, so this is core, remember? That's the C and that's the O. The R is your rundown. So your rundown in your prompt is going to include more context, examples, stuff about the audience, the tone, like further instructions that the model would need in order to do a really good job on your project, right? Just like you would tell, just like I was saying, my first boss, Judy Checker, she gave me the rundown, right? And we would get together. She would give me more rundown, more rundown, more rundown. I always had the context. That's what helps humans, right, connect dots. And that's what helps the model connect dots as well. So we're going to provide context for the request. We're going to be specific with our details. And sometimes we're going to cut and paste examples into the platform so that it knows exactly what it wants. And this is like the real magic of organizing your prompts, is like having this information in there is what gets you, is what's so different than when you just like blurt things out. And then instructions. So do you want it to be short? Do you want bullet points? Do you want it in a poem format? Do you want it in a country song? Is there a tone or a style or a voice? And do you want ChatGPT to show its work? For example, you could say, like, how would you go about doing this? You could say, before you start the project, tell me your steps, right? So you can put that into your instructions as well. I hope that makes sense. All right, core framework. So collaborate, organize, rundown, and explicit instructions. That's like the overview. And then there are a couple of things that fit within that, of course. Oh, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this, but subscribe to ChatGPT Plus. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down because I got to get serious here. And I'm going to demonstrate the methodology for better prompts. And if you're sitting at your desk or on your phone and you can, work alongside me, that's the best, because that's going to help you. You'll be able to look back at your results and, refine those as you go, but not starting from scratch. Okay, hold on uno momento while I get this shared. Hi, everybody. I hope your Friday is good. Share this tab instead. Okie dokie. So let me ask you guys this. Does anyone have a use case that... Does anyone work? Tell me a project. Somebody tell me a project that they're working on. Like next week. Do you have an event or a solicitation, a research project? Somebody put, like, even if it's hypothetical. Anyone? Oh, I might not be able to see, or you guys might not be chatting with me today. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. All right, let's begin with, let's see, I'm trying to think about, okay, I got it. This is an example that will demonstrate how building a set of modules for communicating effectively as a leader. Ooh, okay, perfect. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. All right, so I'm going to start by, obviously, I know that I'm an invitation to a ribbon cutting event for donors, alumni, and other VIPs. Ooh, Catherine, that's a good one too. Boy, those are both really good. So how about, we'll do the modules first, and that'll lead into we'll do the modules and then we'll do the event, okay? Because the event thing, oh man, these are both such good use cases. So imagine if you're a fundraiser that you are building let's see. Actually, you know what, Jennifer? I'm going to do the event one first and then do something with the leaders thing, okay? Because there are probably a bunch of people who have event planning on their docket. They sent one? Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks, Donnie. Okay, so gosh, this looks like on my live that it's like 20 minutes ago. I hope this didn't start over. All right. So let's see. I'm going to do this in my organized way. So I'm always tempted to write a lot of blah, blah, blah. But okay, great. Jennifer, I also know that you are an events person too. And you'll certainly, as we talked about the other day, you'll have some special events. Let's see. Okay. So hi there. Because remember, ChatGPT likes positive reinforcement and we want to be good collaborators. So we say, hi there. Today I'm working on event planning. I need your help. Thank you in advance for your brilliance. Okay, just a nice little greeting, right? Why not? Then, because remember, at some point we're going to ask ChatGPT what type of a collaborator we are. We want them to say we're a nice one. Okay, today I'm working on event planning. I need your help. Thank you in advance for your brilliance. Now we are going to give ChatGPT a role. We're going to say, you are an expert event planner with 30 years experience hosting, 30 years experience planning and executing highly successful donor events. Events. Is it a facility? I'm going to assume it's like a building, okay, and not a program. Yeah, it's probably a building. Particularly for new building ribbon cutting ceremonies. Okay, so what you've done is you've said this is your role. And what that does is, again, remember, like our goal is just like keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. So we're saying this is your role. You don't need to be a physicist who knows about black holes. You need to be an event planner, right? You're like the world's greatest expert in event planning. And you could even say you are the world's greatest expert. Okay. You also have many years of experience successfully attracting philanthropy to organizations where you work. Okay. Now, I do know that my syntax, etc., is still not awesome. And that's an area where I would say you would go back over time and you'd be like, this sentence leaves room for interpretation. Because the goal here is it's like the better, like, who's really, really good at writing prompts is teachers. Because teachers know how to make things abundantly clear to their students, right? It's like, first A, then B, then C, right? They know how to not say stuff like, hey, it's time for art time. Well, that's probably not a good example. It's time for whatever. Yeah, let's just say time for art time. They like say they're kindergartners. It's time to go to your cubbies, pull out your stuff, do this, do that. And what we're going to do today is we're going to make pom-pom caterpillars, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're trying to leave less room for error. Okay. And by the way, when you are working in this little bubble here, and you need to go to the next line, you just hit, you just hold the shift key down. So you are an expert event planner. So that's the role. Okay, now we're going to give it a little bit of context. Remember the rundown. We're going to say this event includes includes political leaders in our state in I'm just going to say Oregon because that's where we are. The administrative leadership of the university, the general public, the contractors, architect, donors, the lead donors in particular, and all of our fundraisers. Okay, so what we're saying right now is like, here's the audience. We could just say, actually, the events, let's just say that. The events audience includes, okay, so that's important information, right? You can imagine why it would be important when you're working on a project, right? For the super smart intern to know who the audience is. We're going to say the desired outcome of this ribbon cutting ceremony is it includes a few. Okay, so see, like compared with just like natural language processing, this feels like it's taking a long time. But this is a go smooth to go fast thing. So we spend time doing this on this end, right? Like time up front so that in the future, you have this amazing prompt or a prompt template that you then can refine and you don't have to ever start from scratch again. Plus, if the outcome is amazing, then wow, you have saved a ton of time. Even if it's just okay, you've still saved a ton of time. We want donors, we want everyone to see how impactful the financial investment in the building is. We want donors to know we are totally grateful for their support. We want to be sure that people who, I'm going to also say events audience, we also are live streaming to our international stakeholders who cannot be present. Okay, so that's obviously an important detail. It means that this event needs to be structured in a way that allows us to live stream. We're totally grateful for their support. And then we want to be sure that people who cannot physically be in attendance feel the same sense of accomplishment as the people at the event. Okay, let's see, just one more thing. Okay, now I'm just going to leave it at that. The event will be 75 minutes. We will need to figure out what food and drink options make sense. The program will include 5 speakers. Okay, let's just assume I'm going to put other details in there too, but we'll leave it at that. Now, if I had an example of an existing program or a creative brief for an event like this, what I would say is, here's an example of a creative brief, or here's an example of the invitation or the program or the whatever. And I would put that in there to help ChatGPT know what the output needs to look like. But I'm going to say instead, please send, no, here's what I'm going to do. Please ask me 3 questions before you launch into ideas for this event. That will help us with details. Okay, good enough. All right. By the way, that ask me questions thing is money in the bag. If like my session expired, what is that? No. Oh dear, this has never happened to me before. What even is that? Oh, I better not have to write all this stuff again. Oh my word, please, no. Don't they know I'm doing? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so now just pretend you're not going to see what I'm about to do because it's going to be a lot of gibberish. So I'm just going to say, need your help planning a ribbon cutting event for donors. It's a building project. There will be politicians, university reps, etc. there, and we want to live stream it. Ask me 3 questions. So now we'll know that our results are not going to be as good because I just did it that way, but you'll still get to see all the steps. Okay, planning a ribbon cutting event is a significant building project. Okay, what's the core message or theme of the event, and how do you intend to weave this narrative throughout this ceremony and live stream? So the theme is innovation. Well, no, it does. It does save it, LinkedIn user. The only problem is that it, for some reason, I've never seen it do that. It just like punted. Yeah, but it doesn't, right. Oh, but to your point, yeah, it doesn't save like a Google Doc would, automatically. So that's not fun. The theme is innovation and community. How about that? How do we plan to engage? Well, that's for you to decide. I know, Donnie, don't even worry. That's for you to decide. And then what's the third question? Logistics, technical requirements. I don't know. Just let's develop the program together. Okay, so you'll see, unfortunately, gosh, I wish it hadn't punted me out of there, but you'll see how even with the little bit of context that I've given it, it's beginning to talk to me about the elements of planning an event like this. For example, you're going to start reaching out, you're going to start like hyping it up, right? Early on. So you're going to make plans for, especially since it's an international audience, because it's going to be streaming, telling you launch a social media campaign featuring sneak peeks at the building. Like that is so cool, right? I'm sure you have a webcam. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, Kim, I literally have never had that happen, but so I don't really worry about it too much, but that is why you build a library, right? Is because you don't want to be looking through all of your prompts that are sitting here. So launch a social media campaign, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then you're going to be giving like the high level people probably save the dates. Here's the ideas for the event program. Then we get the ribbon cutting ceremony itself. You're going to need a ceremonial speech, a ribbon cutting. You're going to have a call to action in the closing segment. You're going to have a post-event engagement, technical and logistical considerations, rehearsals, technical support, accessibility. So what you would do is you would go back, you'd look at this and you go, okay, let's talk more. So now this is again, prompting. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to show you reprompting. So say I'm like, yeah, but actually, so I'm going to say, this is good. But when I said community, I really meant that you should focus on our international, global, alumni community. Could you try again? So now it's going to redo the response, knowing that I meant to say that we really want an international focus. Okay. All right. So, by the way, when you want to stop the output, you hit this little circle here. So I'm going to stop the output because I'm going to show you two other things. One is, let's say, either at this point you already know you don't like it, or you wait until the very end, you review it and you're like, it's good. I think ChatGPT knows what I want, but this is just like not quite right. There, see this little circle thing here where underneath closing segment, that's regenerate. You just click on that and just like wipes the slate clean, tries again. Which sometimes I've been so surprised how many times I'm just like, I'm just going to regenerate it. And I don't like it again, regenerate it. And it like hits on what I was looking for. So, and then as you can see, like as you're going through this process, you're going to be getting ideas. Like, for example, let's say I hadn't thought of, virtual connectivity space. Maybe they're talking about a platform where people can be in breakout rooms. A dedicated space within the new building aimed at facilitating global connections among alumni, including virtual meeting rooms and interactive displays. So maybe you're like, oh my God, this was a super important feature of the building. Let's incorporate that into the program, something I hadn't thought of. All right, so we did regenerate. So that's an example. But now what I want to show you is let's just pretend again, for the sake of argument, that this first prompt was the lengthy one I gave it, like with all the specifics. When you want to perfect your prompt, the best way to do that is to actually go back up to the beginning and make the original prompt better. The audience and the theme should have an international focus. Okay, I'm not going to have it ask me questions. So then what happens is your prompt at the top is now the one that's getting closer and closer and closer to the one that you would save to do later. I hope that makes sense. So a lot of times we advocate for you all to just reprompt and keep on trucking. But when you know that you're going to keep using this prompt going forward, it's so worth it. Okay, Jennifer, absolutely. Have a beautiful day, and we'll be chatting soon. I owe you some stuff, and I have been putting it together in my brain. Have a beautiful day. But sometimes when we want to make sure that we're like building a really dope gallery of prompts, we're always going to be working toward making that first prompt really good. Cool. So that is the format. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to start a new one, and I'm going to say, oh, by the way, let me actually go back and say, okay, wonderful. Catherine, or was it Catherine? Yeah, I'm going to get you your invitation copy real quick. So, okay, wonderful. Now, let's use your expertise as an event planner and persuasive writer to draft a lovely invitation that will be mailed to all of our potential guests. It should be very concise. Actually, let's do, writer to draft a lovely save the date card that will be mailed to all of it. It should be very concise, but include enough details to inspire people to RSVP. Ask me any necessary questions. No more than 3, one at a time. So again, I didn't write that. Oh, Kim, that's a huge question. You could make a GPT that's your event planning GPT or your invitation or your program GPT, and basically, I'll show you that in a second if I have time. Could you share? I'm like a huge custom GPT girly. Like I mostly create GPTs and do all my projects within those because it's just so awesome. Could you share the name of the building project? Disneyland. No, I don't want to. I'm just going to say like it's the Science Center for Emerging. It's Science Center. I don't know. Supporting students in STEM. Okay, so ChatGPT is going to produce a draft of the written content. Save the date. You're invited to a momentous occasion, the ribbon cutting of our new science center, a beacon of innovation and support for aspiring STEM students around the globe. So a couple of things with this. Let's say you were like, okay, this is about 80% of the way. I like it. I don't love it. You could reprompt. You could fix, this where I didn't give it very much, I just did a bunch of blah, blah, blah. You could get that more specific. Because you could tell it, you are an invitation expert. I need your help writing an invitation. It's going to be 100 words. It's going to include the following pieces of information. It's going to look just like the example I have attached, or this is the format, et cetera, right? Like you could give it very explicit directions and then it could do it, even better the first time. So now you're going to, let's just say you are like, okay, it's good enough, right? I'm just going to edit it myself. So you would cut and paste this into a document so that you could do some fine tuning on it. You would be like, okay, probably like, what's our brand guidelines? How do we talk about things? What was the branding for the Science Center? Are there certain colors we use? Are there certain taglines we use? So let's just assume you don't want to bother like starting over with your prompt and including all of that. You might look for language, like would your organization use the word beacon? Beacon is a word that ChatGPT puts in everything and it's super annoying, but there are ways to fix that, but sometimes it still sneaks a word in. Would you say with esteemed guest, what's the tone? Is this thing going to be delivered on like a beautiful, like cream colored cardstock with like, frilly writing? Or is it going to be like, bright colors, kablam in like, sans serif font? So how about this? I'm going to say real quick now, let's assume this is going to be a very fancy invitation. Please create an image for me to use as a guide. All right, so now because we have ChatGPT 4, we would include a lot more details, and we would include, an example potentially of an invitation that we liked. But right now we're just saying, what the heck? Let's just see, for the sake of, argument, let's just see what it looks like if ChatGPT were to make an image of a save the date. Okay. Okay. Now assume it's going to be bright colors and very techy. So you can see how, like, if you're a development officer and you're planning an event, if you were to get yourself like 3 examples of like types of invitation looks so that you can go and talk to your Marcom team and you can say, this is the vibe or this is the vibe, right? Or you have to like run it by your executive director. It's calligraphy or it's, I don't know what. Okay, so see the difference? Like maybe, and then you could put in like different styles and different angle and just kind of go from there so that, sorry, I'm reading text messages. Okay, I know it's noon already. So those are examples of how you work with ChatGPT so that, so that you get the results that you want. It's the core method, right? Collaborate, organize, run down, explicit instructions. So if you where you start with like giving it, you are an expert, we're going to do this project together, and you're using like, spacing and it looks nice, neat, clean, and organized. And then you're planning to save things out to your gallery, doing the rundown, lots of examples, attaching specific like samples, or you can even just attach a document and giving it explicit instructions on how you want the output to be. Then you end up with a work product that you can just there, right? So it's not that ChatGPT is for you, didn't for you, right? It got you to a certain point. It gave you some really good ideas, right? And we could continue this project through the point where, like, if I put probably another 30 minutes into this, and I've done projects like this a number of times, I would be able to put together like a whole creative brief that would be socialized with my colleagues and my bosses and potentially board members. So I put together a creative brief. It would be like an object of perfection. We would have, what's the desired outcome? Actually, well, gosh, it's 12:04. It would have everything that we need for the event. I can work back and forth with ChatGPT to actually shop for the tchotchkes or the leave behinds that we're going to like, let's say we're going to have people do like, some kind of like a signing, or they're going to take like little seed packets or whatever. You can have ChatGPT do the pros and the cons for you of different leave behinds. You can have it obviously write remarks. You can upload transcripts. Let's say your university president is going to speak at the event and you're in charge of writing remarks. You could upload her her speeches from before and create remarks based on her exact voice. So you see how you could end up doing your whole event planning through that process. And the thing that I like about using these tools for event planning is that it's not just about time savings. Like, to me, that's a bonus. The time savings piece of it, that's incredible. Don't get me wrong. Time is our one non-renewable resource, right? What's meaningful to me is that the quality of the outcome is going to be so much higher. The quality of that event, if you take your subject matter planner and you pair Okay. So I know it's 12:06. We still have A fair number of people here. What I'm wondering is, would you like me to demonstrate GPTs? Should I do that? I want to see, I'm just trying to double check to see how many people are still here before I make that decision. And if anyone wants to, if anyone already knows that they want me to show them how to make a custom GPT, I can just go ahead and do that. Oh, our internet went down for a second. Okay. Pretty sure anyway. Okay. So there's 30 people still here, Donnie. Should I? Okay, Kim. All right, good. Okay. Really nice about learning how to do these prompts is that as you refine them, there's going to come a moment where you're like, this is awesome. I love this prompt, but okay, cool. But it would be pretty cool if it was just a little bit easier, right? If it was just a little bit easier on me, that would be dope. And maybe I would to structure this so that anyone in my organization or anyone in the whole world who has a project like this, so that they could use the same methodology. So here is, oh my word. Oh, Don is in. Hold on. Let's see what he's telling me. What are you telling me?
Telling you that it's not. So it's been glitching pretty consistently.
Back on now though? Okay. It's glitching. Lisa and Kim, can you tell me if it's glitching still on your end? Looks good on the phone. I'm just going to proceed and hopefully we'll be able to get something out of this for you guys. All right. So I'm going to show you the inside of a GPT, and you can spin one up in actually, yeah, in and out. Huh. I don't know what to do about that. It's glitching. Yeah. Yeah. How about this, everybody? How about if I make one? I'll do one. I'll do a session on GPTs when I get back from my spring break trip with my daughter. Okay, we'll do it that way. I'm so sorry, you guys. That stinks. It's just going in and out at our house. Yeah, a couple of technology glitches today. I'm bummed that OpenAI decided to boot me out in the middle of my demo. I know this happens, but happens to the best of us, but I don't like it. All right, so everybody, if you can hear me, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to go hiking in Utah for a week. Ooh, -6 degrees Celsius, Kim. No, that's too cold. That's too cold. Stay warm. Lisa, thank you so much. I'm so glad you two were here and chatting up in the comments. That makes it so like I really, 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 really appreciate that, like more than you could possibly know. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. I hope this was helpful. I'm sorry about the getting booted out of my demo. We're going to keep talking about prompting because it is the X factor. It's the secret sauce. So come back every week. We will talk about prompting, and every week we will talk about being careful about how you use your data and not putting confidential information into ChatGPT. Okay? All right.